Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to anyone who is joining us live and who may watch this recording. Today we are joined by Kayla. Kayla is the editor-in-chief of Restoration and Remediation magazine. Kayla will be talking through with us about the power of media and PR in restoration. I personally can't wait to hear what you've got to speak to us today about, Kayla, especially with the topic being connected to my day-to-day work. I'm looking forward to getting some great ideas and insights. We have some topics and questions ready to go, which we're going to quiz you on, yeah? And then
Yeah,
also
yeah.
feel free to add anything else in that you wish. I'll rejoin you at the end unless there's anything you want in the meantime. Great. Well, if you want to do a quick introduction and I'll get started in sliding through the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me and joining me on your morning, my evening. It's 5 o'clock here in the afternoon. So I want to thank you guys for all taking the time to join. As Claire said, I am Kayla McGowan, editor-in-chief for R&R Magazine, and I am responsible for the educational sessions for the experience as well, which we just finished the spring experience. We're getting ready for the fall. I've been in the industry for 10 years, and I've just grown to love it. And when Carsey approached me about this, I was so excited to share some of this information because a lot of people don't understand how powerful media and PR are in this space. And a lot of people don't think that it applies to them, but it truly does. It applies to each and every one of you, whether a technician, a project manager, a business owner, marketing, business management, it applies to everybody. So we put together some questions and I'm going to go through them. And then if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them and then we'll answer them as we go.
Thanks, Kayla. Okay, here we go.
Okay, so the first question is how can media exposure benefit a restoration business, both in credibility and customer acquisition? So, first and foremost, media exposure is not only good for your SEO and just searchability. Our consumers and even competition, even events that are being hosted, they will look you up via Google or Yahoo or Bing or whatever they use. And the best way for you to become exposed is by utilizing the media that is in the space. So, for example, there are three main publications in our space here stateside. And we also work with RIA, which is also in Australia. So there's opportunity there not only to partner with us as R&R, but also RIA and other associations. I know IICRC goes over there as well. So there's opportunity that allows you to have that exposure. Maybe you didn't think about it in the way that you would be gain exposure. So a couple of ways to do that is an article or something like this, a brief interview. It's searchable, it's shareable on social media, and your customers can find that, right? Another big thing is utilizing your customer reviews. I know a lot of people don't think about that, but your Google business profile is really thrives off of your ratings from your customers. But not only that, it's nice to share that information on social media because a lot of people actually use social media to search. And then you have AI. So AI is combing the dark web to find information and it can lead to you. Whether it's Google's AI or Meta's AI or ChatGPT or Copilot, that adds to your media exposure. And we all know that our consumers utilize the internet more than they probably utilize word of mouth. I don't even know if yellow pages are still a thing, but for your customers, you want to make it easy to be found, and the best way is to utilize media and PR for that. Next question. What types of stories or topics get the most attention in industry publications like R&R? Ooh, this is such a good question. And it is a little hard to answer because it changes depending on what's going on in the industry. I know that's a little vague, but right now, for example, fire. Fire is really big here in the States because Los Angeles had a ton of fires at the beginning of the year. And just most recently, Oklahoma has had some fires as well as the East Coast for us. I know when Australia had those wildfires a few years ago, I was actually working at the IICRC and we did a huge lift on some fire resources specifically for Australia. So, depending on what's going on, I would definitely say those are the types of stories or topics that will get the most attention. However, your regular water damage, mold are really big just because they occur regularly. And then topics, stories and topics, they kind of go hand in hand, but I would definitely say the best stories are the ones that are relatable. So for you that are listening, like I said, no matter where you are, what position you hold, um, this industry thrives on connecting and collaboration. It has to be relatable, and I think those are some of the stories that do the best. Also, other stories that do really well are technical pieces. So, from your professionals, whether it's someone who is an industrial hygienist or a triple master, or somebody who's been in the industry for 20 plus years, their stories, regardless of the topics, usually perform really well. I think we can all look back and think about COVID, right? Disinfection was like a huge topic. And so I think this just goes to show, depending on what's going on in our industry, those stories and topics will vary. So, for example, I know you guys had a cyclone recently, wasn't it? Claire, what you guys had something off the coast. And so that was
Yeah.
probably really a big topic for the restorers in the space. Like, okay, what resources do we have? What areas are hit the most or most affected? And so, our seasons are a little different here in the States. We're actually getting ready to prepare for fire and hurricane season. So our minds are on fire and hurricane, even though we had fires and it wasn't in fire season. Those are kind of the topics that are gaining traction. Also, AI. AI is one that I don't think will ever go away, but Phil McGurk has written 2 pieces on AI. And, it's just one of those things that's not going away. So people are talking about it, how to utilize it, and how can we in the restoration space utilize it for all processes in our business. So that's really big too. Also, other stories and topics that are really great are anything that you can forecast being an issue or a problem. So, for example, I just mentioned, the cyclone in Australia, and then for us getting ready for hurricane season and fire season, maybe putting a piece out about what you learned the previous season. Those types of things perform really well, and they show like, okay, we learned from our lessons last year. Here's what not to do. So, again, varies, but those are definitely the ones that come to mind right now.
I've actually got a question on that,
Yeah, of
Kayla, if that's okay. I thought I'd jump in
course.
now before I forget it. Um, how do people writing the articles be careful in terms of not being so repetitive? So, for example, when you say about the cyclone and fires and anything that's relatable at the time, you could have hundreds across the board coming in. How do you watch that line that you don't cross it where it becomes you're actually pushing people and readers away from reading the same thing over and over again, if that makes sense?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good question, actually. So, I vet every single person that asks to write an article, and I always ask them prior to them writing what they want to write about and what they want to include so that we don't have repetition. And sometimes there's a fine line between repetition on a topic, depending on, like, let's say somebody's talking about claims and then somebody's talking about customer service and documentation. There's going to be crossover, but someone could be talking about the claims process in totality, and somebody could be talking about how you talk to your customer and keep them informed and keep your processes in line. So they would still cross, but they wouldn't be talking about the same thing. That is inevitable. But as far as talking about the same exact thing, we really steer away from that. Now, for example, with the fires, this is a good topic because for us, there was a lot of people who were talking about fire, and we had a lot of articles coming in about fire. And so what we did is we utilized a couple of key sources in the space for us in particular. So Patrick Moffat, he's based in California, actually. He's an environmental guru, and he's also a restorer. And so he wrote about the what we need to tell the customer, how we need to tell the customer for health and safety and all that. And then he wrote one for the restorer. Then I had somebody write, Sean Scott and Barry Rice, they wrote about the legal side of things. Granted, there was still health and safety involved, but in California, there's a lot of regulation and rules that apply. And so they did talk about health and safety, but they talked about two completely different things. And so I think that's one of those things. They're kind of the same, but they definitely cover something different. And that's the goal, to cover every single layer. I will say repetition is inevitable. Maybe somebody wrote about something 3 years ago, and then we have something that's more up to date that still covers some of the stuff that was 3 years ago. That is warranted in our space because things change, right? But other than that, really, we try so hard not to have crossover. And if we do, that's where like Ask the Expert comes into play, where we can do a panel style, and we can talk about those things, right? Because like, for example, I did a contents Ask the Expert, and we had three content companies on, and we talked about everything, and they conversed because we could have had a piece from each of them, but they would have probably covered very similar grounds, and that's not fair to the industry or to our readers, because we're supposed to be giving them one piece with all of the information. But I would definitely say we do make sure that we don't have that crossover. It is hard, I will say. Everybody has such great ideas, and chances are in our space, more than one person is thinking about the same thing.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. So definitely a lot more in-depth work for you than people may realize.
Yeah, yeah, and it's okay. I think two things change, right? And so maybe somebody's idea was already done, and maybe in 3 months there's like another spin that we can make on it. And so I keep those as well. Um, AI is actually a really big one, like we said, and I've actually had to tell people, like, I've already had a couple of people write about AI, and here's what we have already. You can definitely write about AI, but they cannot be about these specific subtopics in AI. And it opens up the door for ideas that maybe somebody didn't have. So, we do our due diligence. And, I think another way to avoid repetition is if somebody wants to write about something and they've seen something and they're like, oh, I really want to write about that. Maybe it's a different viewpoint. So you can still write about that topic, but it's a different viewpoint, whether it's the customer, from the restorer, from the owner point of view. There's opportunities to still cover a topic that you're passionate about.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, we'll
You're
hop on to
welcome.
the next question. Thank you.
What steps should a restoration company take if they want to be featured in an industry magazine? Great question. I will speak on behalf of R&R and BMP Media for this one. Reach out. I am available on Facebook, LinkedIn. I know Claire's going to share my contact information. Um, Really, it's just asking or commenting on something. I've had people DM us on social media and ask us to write about specific things. Maybe they don't want to be featured on that particular thing, but that also opens the door to feel comfortable to be like, hey, maybe I can be featured. And I think, the best way is just to ask. That's how we get where we're going. And no idea is a bad idea, honestly. And I think one thing that I love is when people who are still in the field are writing, because they're relatable and they're seeing things that other restorers across the world, not just the United States or Australia, across the world, that people are seeing in our space. A good example is I had somebody um, who was in Europe, I think it was, and he just emailed me, and he just asked, um, I saw this article on your website. Can we use it? And I said, of course you can. You just, link back to us. And I said, if you have any other ideas, we'd love to hear your ideas and hear from you. And that just kind of opened the door, right? So even just asking questions can give you an opportunity to be featured. Another really easy way, if you don't really want to do editorial or like podcasts, if you have events or you have press releases, those are really easy ways to get involved and featured in the magazine, not only just on our website, but also on social media. So, a lot of people actually that I've talked to in the space had no idea they could send us press releases. And I mean, like anything, you could have an acquisition, you can have a promotion, you can have a new team member come on, and that's an opportunity to share that type of press release. And then everybody in the industry sees it, right? It one not only shows who your company is, it also shows that you love your staff and your initiatives. I've had some companies talk about the charity work that they do in press releases. So really, that's an easy way to be featured. Or if you have an event coming up and it's like the first of its kind, or maybe it's like a large loss summit or something, that's also an opportunity to be featured in a magazine, specifically with R&R. I don't want to speak on everybody else's behalf, but specifically with R&R, you have that opportunity to be featured in more way than one.
Thank you. I can definitely vouch for that because that's exactly what we did. Um, and that's a really good point to make, I think, because I know for myself, when I was thinking of how to go about it, I did think, surely I can't just email them. They must have thousands of people emailing them all the time. They're not going to listen to little old me. But you have to find the right magazine, the right outlet, the right person, willing to help and willing to help the industry more than anything. And that's what you did, and that's where we are. So I'll definitely vouch for that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that because I think too, maybe nobody knows how we got here, right? Nobody knows how R&R and Kayla McGowan got to this point. And it was just conversational. I think it was actually on LinkedIn. And it was just like very casual. And yes, it is me on LinkedIn. If you message me, it is me. And we just kind of talked and it just went from there. And I think that's the other thing is this industry in particular thrives off of your expertise. And the questions you have in the field or the questions that you had 10 years ago, they could still be relevant. And like I said, no matter what position you hold, even if you're an owner, maybe you're having trouble with staffing, right? That's a huge thing. I think since COVID, a lot of people have struggled with staffing, and that's an opportunity to write about that. Maybe you found something that just works for your business. Maybe it's an interview technique. Maybe it's somebody that you utilize for staffing. Those types of things help propel our industry forward. That's just one example. I would definitely say, of course, there's many others, but to me, I feel like labor is such a big thing for our industry right now. That's one that comes to the top of my head is like, even if you didn't want to write a piece, or some people say, I'm not a writer, that's okay. That's where I come in. I'll help you write it if you need help. And, just take that leap and then you may never look back. It may be open a door that you didn't think could ever be opened.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you. We'll jump to the next
You're
question.
welcome. Yeah. Are there certain types of press releases or story pitches that get better responses from publications? Yes, there are. I would definitely say any type of promotion or acquisition receives a ton of interaction. One that comes to mind most recently was Violand Management here in the United States. They switched ownership essentially. Chuck Violand is, retiring, and Tim Hole is taking over, and that just performed really well. Any type of promotion, any type of collaboration, whether it's a partnership. I think we've had a couple where like Magic Plan and Epic Estimates, they partnered up for something. DocuSketch has announced a couple of things, and those types of things get a lot of response. So definitely promotions and acquisitions do great for press releases. Also, any type of new product or maybe a change does really well too. And then story pitches. Ooh, this is a good question. Gosh, really anything that's relatable. So of course, every single publication, especially R&R, we have an editorial calendar that we require to be filled. So, for example, in the month of May, we have like catastrophe preparedness and PPE and disinfection, and I believe heat drying, or cavity drying, actually. And those are the stories that are going to be top priority, right? Because we need to cover them. But other pitches that are actually really interesting are anything to do with the claims process right now. Those are really hot. Anything that has to do with how-tos are really impactful. So, for example, we've partnered with several people, but one that comes to mind is Know How. They actually did a piece that was like how to remove baseboard. Seems basic, right? Um, Definitely their number one piece of their how-tos. So, um, depending on, what you're trying to achieve, I guess would be what would be better. But I would definitely say your press releases, like I said, any kudos or accolades, any changes within a business do really well. And then story pitches, again, back to seasonal as well. Fires, hurricanes, those are always going to do really well, especially when we're getting back um, on track for the seasons. Now, I will say one thing that I really appreciate is when I get pitches that are completely not something I would think of. And I think that's the beauty of this industry. When people think about utilizing whether it's technology or AI, or we have an Insure newsletter that talks about like business management, claims process, and like one thing that has really like opened my eyes a little bit more is insurance coverage for restoration professionals. And I mean, for your business, right? There's different types of liability insurance, there's pollution insurance, there's all these insurances that a lot of people may not know about, especially if they're starting in the space. And that's one thing that I really appreciated was that specific pitch where somebody was like, do we even know what kind of coverage we need when we first get into the industry? And a light bulb kind of went off, and it was like, actually, no, a lot of people probably don't know because they're coming from a place of where they didn't own their own business. They only knew about maybe their medical insurance or their home insurance. And so contractors themselves also have to carry several types of insurance, not just one. And so it's been really interesting to cover those and explain why those are so important to understand, especially when you're in different regions of a country. Here in California, for example, uh, California, like I said, has a ton of laws and regulation that other states in the United States just don't have. They don't have them. And so it gives you the opportunity to cover that type of stuff in those particular stories. Next question. Once a company gets featured, how can they maximize their exposure across their marketing efforts? Again, these are such great questions. So a couple of ways that I help companies utilize their exposure are one, I tag or ask them what their handles are for social media, because then you can share from R&R's page, which R&R's followers see that. So I would definitely say strategy wise for you, I would make sure that you're getting tagged in those shout outs, or you're tagging the publication that you've been featured in. Sometimes I have people post their article right away and they tag us, and then we just reshare it. So it's additional exposure. Also, if you have newsletters, share that in the newsletter. What better way to kind of show, hey, we've been featured? Um, but I would definitely say the power of your marketing efforts are going to rely on social media right now. Um, and your website, put that on your website, right? It's great for your website if somebody stumbles upon it. I know a lot of people put featured in. That's very popular, or even in people's email signatures. I've seen that where they've said they've been featured in X, and that that logo links to their article. So there's a ton of ways to do that, but I would definitely say if you have a newsletter, utilize that. Put your piece in your newsletter. Utilize your social media. If you have partners that you partner with, and they like to share your information, share your article with them. Share your press release with them. And that is how you get additional exposure. I would definitely say on our behalf here at R&R, there are a couple of layers that we have to help with your marketing efforts. So one, it goes on our website, two, we feature it on social media, and three, it goes in our newsletters. So that additional exposure is probably to an audience that you don't necessarily have. You could, but there could be some that don't cross over, and it could be brand new, and it can bridge a gap for you and open up new doors and connections. So I would definitely say utilize your channels, but anybody that you're working with, ask if you can utilize theirs, because their followers may just be a little different. They may have newsletters, and like I said, on behalf of R&R, we share with our, base of followers and constituents what we have on our website. So there's layers to it, but I would definitely say don't be afraid to ask. That's another way to help maximize your exposure.
One quick thought, Kayla, for
Yeah.
R&R specifically. When you mention about putting featured in the email signature, for example, is there a specific logo that you have to provide people to use, or can they literally just take the R&R logo and use it on there? Is there a specific one we have to be that has to be valid to use?
I would just ask for a logo. I have it, honestly, just because I think we know how the web can be. You might have somebody who tried to mock it and it's not the same text. And maybe if you wanted something to say something particular, like featured in R&R's April edition or something like that, we could definitely craft that for you and you can put it in your signature. Um, but really, again, open communication, reach out to me. It's very easy to get our logo, but I would say just for it to be the right one, I would definitely just reach out, and we can send it to you so you have the right logo.
Perfect. Thank you. We'll
You're
jump
so
to the next
welcome.
we'll jump to the next question.
How can smaller restoration companies without a big marketing budget still leverage media coverage? Ooh, good question. This is a question that I think is at the top of a lot of people's minds, if I'm being quite honest. So I would definitely say ask if you can be featured. Like, that doesn't cost anything. Doesn't You don't even have to have a marketing department for that, to be quite honest. Um, Interact with our social media, because comments show, right? That's free. But I would definitely say if you're looking to get involved, there's also opportunities to do e-blasts. There's paid ads that really aren't huge price tags, to be completely honest. And depending on if you offer a service or a product, there's opportunity. But as far as editorial and media, I would definitely say anything that comes through me is free. It's free of charge. You don't have to have any dollars behind it. So I would start with reaching out to your publications. It's going to cost you time, right? And your hourly, whoever you're paying, that's what it's going to cost you. You don't have to have a budget for it because you're already paying for your staff. Um, and the other way to still leverage media coverage is press release. If you don't know how to draft a press release, ask. I can help you draft a press release. AI can help you draft a press release. There's so many opportunities to utilize technology or utilize your publication to help you. Maybe it's something like, hey, I have like 5 questions that I wanted to answer. Can we do that? We can. We can jump on a Zoom, we can ask the questions, and I can write the piece and send it back to you. And that's free. It does not cost you anything at all. And I would definitely say going to events. Truly, if you don't have a big marketing budget and you'd still like to get media coverage, you can speak. For example, at the experience, we don't charge you to speak, and we spotlight our speakers. So that is free media coverage. We also post during the event. So that's another way. I would also say you can utilize your own social media by going to events and tagging the event itself, which shows to their followers as well. So it's additional media coverage. Again, none of this takes marketing budget except for the stuff that I mentioned about e-blast and ads. Yes, that does involve a marketing budget, but honestly, press releases, any type of editorial, whether it's a Q&A or a longer form piece, or you want to get on Ask the Expert and answer a couple of questions, that doesn't cost anything. Again, just time and your manpower. And I think people don't realize that, and that's kind of why this question is here, is so that all of you can understand that, you know, we're here to help the industry and serve you as well. So it doesn't have to have money. And I think a lot of times when we think of media and PR and all that, we think there's money associated with it. But there are some ways to get things quote unquote for free, right? It's going to take your time, it's going to take your manpower, but there would not be any cost associated with this said coverage.
Just a question which might be going off the topic just a tiny bit, but
Yeah.
going back to your comment about articles that are maybe provided with the help of AI. What's your opinion on having the help of AI to write an article, whether that is fully left to AI, it's scaled down a bit and changed once that program has given you the article, if someone dramatically changes it or uses it fully? Are they kindly taken by the audience? What's your opinion?
So AI has its own characteristics and patterns that makes it really easy to understand and identify if it's written by AI. We actually just had this conversation at the experience, if I'm being quite honest. We were in a session and we were talking about AI. And a couple of things that were brought up, and on the publication side, I do stand firmly on a lot of this. One, it is there for an aid, it's not a crutch. And I know it's easy, it's instant gratification, but not AI cannot check all of your facts or provide you always up to date facts. And so, you know, rely on yourself, rely on your knowledge. AI is there to help you make sure that your punctuation is correct, to make sure that you're grammatically correct, maybe even check your facts, right? Maybe something's changed on a link. Um, I would definitely say it's not a bad thing to have an article help you, like, or AI help you with an article, but I would definitely say don't rely 100% on AI to write a piece that is technical for this space. Now, I know some people who I've spoken to who have like dyslexia, or their English is not their, like, writing in English is not their strength. They can talk and they know how to write, but putting it into an article is not their strength. So they utilize AI, and that's completely okay. That's where we kind of come in and we say, like, hey, you need a comma here, or you don't need a comma here, or this should be rephrased. Um, so the audience, I think the audience prefers non-AI articles. However, I think that people are still learning AI, if I'm being quite honest. So I don't want to speak for the consumer standpoint, like our professionals who are reading things, but those who are very familiar with AI can tell who's utilizing it. It's not a bad thing to utilize it. I would definitely say that it is, AI is designed to be an aid. It is not designed to be a crutch, because AI can't replace us, restorers, cleaners, health and safety. They can't, because it's so manual, right? Everything we do is manual. So I hope that answered your question. I don't think AI is a bad thing. I don't think utilizing it is a bad thing. I just think um, our friends at Albeware mentioned this, that AI can hallucinate, right? And so if you don't know how to utilize AI, it can hallucinate and give you incorrect information, and you have to train it. That's the other thing, is you have to train AI. And I think I talked to Phil about this when I did my Ask the Expert with him. You have to train it. You have to tell it what you need and what you want. And again, our friends at Albi, they've mentioned when you're asking AI anything to, whether it's to help you or fact check, you ask it for three things, right? So that it's not just giving you a one flat answer for something. But again, I think I'll stand on this firmly. It's an aid. It's not meant to be a crutch or to replace you, I guess, is the nicest thing to say. Um, we all utilize AI in some way, shape, or form. I mean, Grammarly is AI, right? Um, you know, anytime you're proofing anything, if you run it through any type of software, they're utilizing AI. Um, Google has AI. So it's a little hard to get away from it, but I would definitely say, in short, it's there to help us. It is not there to replace us.
Yeah. I guess at the end of the day, people still like the human interaction, don't they? And that's what more people are looking for these days, in my opinion, sometimes because we are so divided now by technology. I myself don't even like answering the phone anymore. I prefer just to send a text message because I'm so used to not having that human connection anymore. But yes, again, sorry, I might have got off topic a little bit. But yeah, perfect. Thank you for that outlook. And we'll jump to the next question so I don't keep
Sure.
derailing you.
I think it was a valid question, honestly. I think a lot of people want to know about AI and, where is it going to take this industry, right? I think we're probably one of the last industries to actually utilize it, and I think it's for good reason, right? We have special criteria, if you will, on what we handle, and it's not a bad thing. Like I said, I think if we look back 10, 20 years ago, things were introduced that we probably never thought we would use. The iPad, right?
Yep.
The cloud, those were things that we had to overcome, and this is no different. This is no different. And so I would definitely say it still goes along with media and PR. Um, your search engines can tell AI patterns, so it's not going to do you any favors as far as like SEO and all of that, because it can pick up on your patterns. So it can pick up on AI patterns, especially Chat GPT. So, just kind of keep that stuff in mind when you're utilizing it. Again, make sure you're using it for fact checking, right? Like, let's say you used the link from a year ago. Maybe there's a new link, or maybe that's okay. But I wouldn't say, hey, Copilot or Chat GPT, write me a article on mold and its effect on indoor air quality, because it's going to pull something from everywhere, and it could be Wikipedia. It could be anywhere, and it doesn't mean it's valid, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So AI does have its uses, but again, it's not beneficial for you and your exposure, if you will.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you. I'll
You're
just
welcome.
jump on to the next one.
Perfect. What are the most common mistakes businesses make when trying to get media coverage, and how can they avoid them? I think, if I'm being quite frank, the biggest mistake is not asking. And I strongly and firmly believe in this. Um, people who know me are going to say I say this all the time, but the only dumb question you could ask is the one you don't ask, right? And so this is the same thing. Um, the only mistake you could have is not inquiring. I would also say too, you don't want to try and utilize media coverage for every little thing, right? So, like, for example, I know we talked about promotions, right? Promotions are great, or maybe you have somebody that joins your team from another industry, or maybe they're like a CFO, or maybe there's a new CEO. Like, those are the things that you want to talk about, but you wouldn't want to do a press release and say, we promoted 20 people to X, Y, and Z, right? Like, the point of a press release or something like that in media coverage is to give people their shine or show the growth and strength in your business. I would also say too, you don't want negativity, right? You don't want to play the blame game on anything. You can talk about controversial topics, but always make everything fact based, unless you're writing a blog, obviously, then it would be opinion based. But I would just say another common mistake could potentially be not knowing the differences between the types of pieces, and maybe not knowing your publication, right? There's been a couple of times where I've received something that doesn't even have to deal with our audience, and I'll have to email back and say, hey, I don't think this is a great fit for us, but maybe this is a great fit for you. So I would definitely say those three things. Number one being the biggest mistake, I would say, and it's not really a mistake, it's a lesson, is not asking. I think most people that I've spoken to in the last 6 months really had no idea what they could put in a publication. When I say like, oh, press release, they're like, I didn't think about that. And I'm like, there's an opportunity there to, give your business or your brand exposure, whether it's for a promotion or event you have coming up, or maybe you launched a new product. Those are some opportunities that can open doors. And while some people think, oh, we'll just tell our customers, why only tell your customers, tell the industry. So yeah, those are the mistakes, if you will. And how do you avoid them? Ask people in the industry, like, hey, what do you do? Um, I will definitely say our industry has been successful because of that, because of people asking, hey, what have you done that's successful? Or hey, who do you talk to for this? So don't be afraid to ask questions. And like I said, you can totally reach out to me on social media or via email. I'd be more than happy to answer some of your questions. And point you in the right directions, even if it's not with R&R particularly. Maybe you want to talk to somebody particularly in the indoor or industrial hygienists that have their own, you know, association. We do cover that, but maybe it's more particular for something that they're covering at the time. That's what this is all about. Just ask the questions. And really, you learn from the lessons. So even if it was a mistake in the past, just making sure that you don't repeat them is the best way to avoid them.
So that's the last of the questions. Thank you very much. Um, I was planning to save all my questions for the end, but I thought I'd jump in each time, otherwise I definitely would forget them. But you're
No,
definitely right in terms of the keep asking. And we learn from the lessons, even in day-to-day life. I learn from day to day and learn from that lesson. I made the mistake and go against it and do it again, and then yeah, it's all, life is one big lesson, isn't it?
it really is. And I would definitely say one other thing, like in all of this with media and PR and just, events and everything, it's no different than your life. Like you just said, Claire, honestly, it is no different than your life, right? Like if you had a mistake or a setback in your life, you're going to say, okay, I'm not going to do that again. And if you do it again, it's like, shame on me. I should have not done it again. And the same thing with your business. And I think all of us get where we're going in life with networking and connections. And again, business is no different. Network, ask questions. Chances are, especially in the media world and all of that, is even if you have a question, you're like, well, I should know the answer, or I don't want to ask that question. Chances are there's many others who have the same question. Um, and, I think the beauty of all of this is just growing together. No one has all of the answers. And so even these questions that I answered today, somebody else is going to have a different outlook or a different answer, and that's perfectly okay. That's how we get better. That's how we propel forward. So, you know, for those of you who are maybe shy about media or publication, don't be. We're human too. We have to do the exact same thing you're doing, ask questions, see where we can partner, see where we can collaborate. So it's definitely no different, and it's human to human. So just remember that when you see a publication, there is a human behind that brand.
A human, not AI.
I will say, yes, human, not AI, but the thing is we all use AI, right? So, I mean, let's be real. If you have an iPhone, there's AI built into it. They partnered with ChatGPT. So now when you even ask Siri a question, she will ask you, do you want me to use ChatGPT? So, even in our everyday life, it's there. I mean, let's talk about the cameras and things that are in life. They utilize AI. So, but yes, I am real. I promise. This is me. It's not an image. I didn't pre-record any of this.
That's good to know. No, I definitely, I do agree with a lot of things, and especially I guess when you get talking about AI, you could go on forever. But even just the smallest things that you see, but you kind of don't notice. For example, I think it's been happening for quite a while now, but I've only just really noticed when I'm searching for something on Google, I don't even get to see a website search first anymore. It's AI giving you its overview before anything. And I'm finding myself reading that and not even going into websites, which is really bad for um, marketing, especially when you're trying to get clicks on your website. No one's going into the websites anymore. So even I'm thinking in my day-to-day work now, how do I get people to overlook that AI description before stopping them going into the website click? Um, Even though we at Carsey like AI, I'm trying to figure out how to stop that from happening now, just so we can carry on with getting people into the website. So yeah, it's quite diverse in how you think about things changing, and that you don't even notice these things. I'm sure that's been happening for a while with Google, but
I would say they released their beta probably like a year and a half ago, and you could opt in to utilize it and just kind of see how it worked. I was one of those people. I wanted to see what it was pulling. I wanted to see if it used AI for every question, and at that point, it wasn't. It wasn't utilizing AI for every single question. And there's really nothing wrong with that. But now, like to your point, you type something in the search bar and AI pops up. And it's funny that you're talking about this because it's kind of a slow process. They might have used it like maybe once or twice before. Now it's like everything that you see. And for those who aren't on the side of marketing or those who are looking for technical information, they may not even scroll past what AI is generating. I will say, depending on the question that you ask, it may give you a couple of more opportunities to utilize other people's websites, but you have to click the carrot. And it's again, we're in an age of instant gratification. More clicks means more frustration for people. And so if there's somebody in the first, little part of AI, people are going to click on that. They're going to get the most traffic. Um, but I would say that's where like social media comes in. That's where websites come in because for our industry in particular, yeah, sure, people are probably utilizing Google, but how many other people are utilizing social media and how many other people are utilizing excuse me, I'm so sorry. I had to sneeze.
bless you.
But thank you. We're counting on people to go where they should go, right? rnrmagonline.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, which I will definitely say LinkedIn has had a ton of people posting some great informational content. And that's the type of stuff that will probably supersede Google, if I'm being quite honest. Google is always going to be number one, right? We already know that they're going to be number one. But for our space, I think because most people know everybody in the space, they're going to know, hey, I need to utilize what this person's posting on social media. Hey, I need to go to R&R, or I need to go to Clean Facts, or I need to go to RIA, or I need to go to IICRC or CNR or whoever, right? Whoever they want to use, they're going to go there more than likely than they're going to go to Google at that point. Google is going to show the resources, but again, instant gratification. No one's going to want to go to Google, type this in, maybe even add the publication name, right? Like, why would I want to go to Google and say, oh, can you show me the last 10 articles from R&R that were about mold? Why would you do that when you can just go to R&R and then go to the topic mold and see what was last published, right? So I think yes, AI is taking over on Google, but we have the opportunity as industry professionals to utilize our outlets properly. And I think LinkedIn will obviously probably take the cake. LinkedIn is so informational right now, from technical to polls to just connectivity. There's so much information, and you can see stuff and search on LinkedIn just as you can on Google. But if you're tired of AI or, thinking about, oh my gosh, now I have to scroll to find what I'm looking for, you can do the exact same thing in social media or a website. Um, Thank you for this. I really appreciate it. And if we want to do this again, we can do it again on another topic. I'd love to join.
Thank you. No, it's been really good. I will definitely take away a lot of recommendations and ideas. And I will, for anyone who watches the recording, I will pop up Kayla's information at the end to get in contact with you. And you're more than happy for people to reach out if they've got any questions or just want to chat and get in touch with you about getting in the magazine, just like I did. So it definitely
Yeah.
works. It definitely works. But other than that, thank you so much, and I will let you go for your evening
Yeah,
and
sounds good.
the last few days before Easter break. So I hope you have a really good Easter break. And yeah, I think that's it. Otherwise, if there's anything else you want to add.
No, thank you for this. I hope you have a great Easter as well. Enjoy the rest of your week and enjoy your weekend. It's almost here for you guys. It's Wednesday for you, right? So Tuesday for me still, but by the time I eat dinner and go to sleep, it'll be Wednesday for me. So we'll be halfway through the week.
But then think when it's over for us, you've still got a little bit of time to go. So
Yeah,
it balances
exactly.
out.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah,
it's my Sunday, it's your Monday, So
correct.
it's like, But yeah, if let me know about Phil and anything that you guys need. If you guys want to do another editorial or anything like that, please let me know. But again, this has been such a great relationship so far. I look forward to where we go in the future.
Me too. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
And thank you for tuning in. Anybody who watches this later on, thank you for watching. And we will see Kayla again soon.
All right, take care, everybody.
Thanks, Kayla.
All
Bye.
right, bye.
Bye.